every time when we do a practice session, as a custom, we are having this talk and discussion. The reason for that is Blessed One has recommended whoever who is walking on the path should support the practice with 5 factors, which we call supportive factors. They are morality, listening, discussion, tranquility, and the wisdom supportive factor. Of these supportive factors, now we are embarking on listening supportive factor. For the listening supportive factor, the topic we have before us is the pathway to Nibbana. Pathway to Nibbana has been precisely, clearly defined by the Blessed One in such a way that it is applicable to anyone. But there are many ways, but this particular way is applicable to anyone. So therefore it is considered as the Bible or the handbook of for achieving Nibbana, right? So the discourse or the sutta that we have selected to discuss to achieve Nibbana is the 4 foundations of mindfulness. In that discourse, the Blessed One says that the people who have been in that particular village where the discourse was delivered have been practicing many types of mindfulness. And to that crowd, the Blessed One says, there is a way which is the only way, and that's just one way as well for the purification of beings, for the eradication of sorrow and lamentation, and extinguishing of sorrow and grief, and going beyond the general natural knowledge that we have gained from our ordinary way of living, and final to achieve Nibbana. There is only one way, and that is the only way. And then he says that way I am talking about is the 4 foundations of mindfulness. And then he signposts what the 4 foundations are. As all of us know, the 4 foundations are being mindful on the body, the sensations, thoughts or the mind, and the phenomena. And when he says, when he signposts these 4, he does not just mention the 4. He says you will have to be mindful of these 4 foundations with certain qualities. The qualities he's emphasizing, stressing upon, are the ardent energy. You should have sufficient energy to handle, to tackle, to fight with the defilements that you find on the way. And then he says, you will have to be mindful in such a way that your mindfulness is automatically, naturally generated and it continues. And if the mindfulness is continuing and is having a self-starter, and that self-starting mindfulness is called clear comprehension. So in other words, the quality is clear comprehension led by mindfulness has to be there as well when you practice these 4 foundations. And the final quality he mentions in practicing the 4 foundations is the disciplining in the world which is full of strong desire and grief or hatred, right? We call it covetousness and grief. You will have to discipline yourself not to grab hold of anything, even in the practice, and also generate a hatred or suffering or sorrow, even arising from the practice. So, with these three qualities, if you are mindful of the body, mindful of the sensations, mindful of the mind, and mindful of the arising phenomena, then you will have a very clear path to Nibbana. And after that, he's taking one by one. And we have taken the first one, which is being mindful on the body. When you are mindful on the body, he has given 14 ways to be mindful of the body. We have discussed 5 ways already. And those 5 ways are starting with being mindful of the respiration, which we call Anapanapabba, or chapter on Anapana, chapter on respiration. And then we discussed the chapter on the postures. Then we discussed the chapter on clear comprehension, which means being mindful of the day-to-day activities that we generally do. In other words, not just the postures, even the sub-postures that you may have in the main 4 cardinal postures, or any other activity that you do. The Blessed One says, you will be having this body in such a way, and just be mindful of the body, irrespective of what you do. And he is taking with his compassion, utmost compassion, even to urination and defecation. Says you can be mindful of your body. And then he has introduced few contemplations as well. The difference between contemplations and being mindful is contemplations is something that you cannot directly experience. Say, for example, there is a chapter on foulness of the body. When you talk about the foulness of the body, you can't 100% experience. There, to a certain extent you can, but not 100%. So therefore, it's a contemplation. You contemplate on the foulness of the body and relate it to your body as well. And similarly, when he discussed about elements, to a certain extent, elements of the body, which is air element, earth element, water element, or the liquid element, or the heat element, you can experience to some extent, but to some extent it is contemplation, relating it to your body. And those 5 sections we have already discussed. So just for the sake of completeness, there is another 9 sections given in the discourse. Those 9 sections are based on the decomposition of a dead body. Decomposition of a dead body is also something which you cannot experience by yourself directly, because we are living, right? When you are dead, there is no question of observing. There is no mental process to observe the death. So therefore, Blessed One has introduced that as a contemplation technique as well. And these contemplation techniques may have been introduced because people who have been listening to the Blessed One in that particular group, since they have been practicing many types of mindfulness, these may have been used by them already. So the Blessed One, with his wisdom, has seen that for some people this may work. So therefore, he has introduced this thing in being as techniques for being mindfulness, or for being mindful in the body. So for completeness sake, I would like to take those 9 sections as well. And I'm not quite sure whether Chattopadhyay is having those 9 sections, starting from it's in um, the last section.
So there's a part where it's like always repeated, he abides contemplating for his body eternally. But there's
No,
also
no.
the other one after that is that the corpse beat by the side.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
And in that, it keeps on saying internally, externally. Don't take that part.
Okay.
Just keep on saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again, because as though he were to see a corpse thrown aside in a charnel or charnel ground, 1, 2, or 3 days dead, bloated, living, and oozing matter, a bhikkhu compares the same body with it thus. This body too is of the same nature. It will be like that. It is not exempt from that fate. Again, as though he were to see a corpse thrown aside in a charnel ground, being devoured by crows, hawks, vultures, dogs, jackals, or various kinds of worms, the bhikkhu compares the same body with it thus. This body too is of the same nature. It will be like that. It is not exempt from that fate. Again, as though he were to see a corpse thrown aside in a charnel ground, a skeleton with flesh and blood held together with sinews, a bhikkhu compares the same body with it thus. This body too is of the same nature. It will be like that. It is not exempt from that fate. Again, as though he were to see a corpse thrown aside in the charnel ground, a fleshless skeleton smeared with blood, held together with sinews, a bhikkhu compares the same body with it thus. This body too is of the same nature. It will be like that. It is not exempt from that fate. Again, as though he were to see a corpse thrown aside in a charnel ground, a skeleton without flesh and blood, held together with sinews, a bhikkhu compares the same body with it thus. This body too is of the same nature. It will be like that. It is not exempt from that fate. Again, as though he were to see a corpse thrown aside in a charnel ground, disconnected bones scattered in all directions. Here a hand bone, there a foot bone, here a shin bone, there a thigh bone, here a hip bone, there a backbone, there the skull. A bhikkhu compares the same body with it thus. This body too is of that same nature. It will be like that. It is not exempt from that fate. Again, as though he were to see a corpse thrown aside in a carnal ground, bones bleached white, the color of shells. A bhikkhu compares this same body with it thus. This body too is the same nature. It will be like that. It is not exempt from that fate. Again, as though he were to see a corpse thrown aside in a charnel ground, bones heaped up, more than a year old, a bhikkhu compares this same body with it thus. This body too is of the same nature. It will be like that. It is not exempt from that fate. Again, as though he were to see a corpse thrown aside in a charnel ground, bones rotted and crumbled to dust, a bhikkhu compares this same body with it thus. This body too is of the same nature. It will be like that. It is not exempt from that fate. And the next part is about Phoenix.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you, Chattopadhyay. In that, we are just taking this for completeness sake, and this is not the topic that I have mentioned today that I will be discussing. When we see this section, in this section, there are 9 stages in which our body will be decomposed. And each of these stages are considered as an object of being mindful. It is not necessary for you to, keep on doing that for one whole year or even over to be mindful on the body. You can take any one of them and be mindful of the body, and you visualize on that and then relate it to your body. That is how the Blessed One has explained. And the beauty in that is it is taking the dead body from its first day until such time that body is reduced to dust, right? So it is taking the complete whole decomposition and explaining what happens to our body over a period of time. And that is the gradual reality of matter. And we are looking after this body with all the possible techniques, methods, giving the best possible food, best possible medical attention, best possible insurance attention, best possible climate conditions. But end of the day, this is where we all are going to end. But unfortunately, today we don't have channel grounds. Those days we had channel grounds and the people can go there and do the practice. And doing practice in such a place is of tremendous benefit. The reason is it does not have the best condition for someone to go and practice. That place must be ultra smelly, and that place must be full of all the dangerous animals. That place must be the hell on earth, so unhygienic, right? But if someone goes to that place where maybe the relatives of the deceased people may be coming and crying in that place, and so there is no proper environment for someone to go and practice, but still someone is going there and doing this practice, he is developing a tremendous amount of energy and tremendous amount of urgency to realize the truth of life, to realize, to gain the best wisdom that the Blessed One has preached or introduced to the humankind. But unfortunately, we don't have that today. And if those days, fortunately, there have not been any health and safety issues. All these factors are out the door because they have been looking into the reality of life. But today, reality of life is hidden as much as possible. And as soon as someone is unable to stand on their feet, doctor will say, okay, this person should be put in somewhere. And that place all of us know is called an aged care. And old people will be put into one area, and the towns and the cities and the suburbs and the villages are full of people who are able and capable. And unable and disabled people are not to be seen. They have been hidden. So the people have no opportunity to understand the rolling reality of life, especially in these countries. But for example, in Sri Lanka and India, fortunately, to a certain extent, still we have. But nowhere, I think, I'm not quite sure of India, in Sri Lanka, even in Sri Lanka, it is very hard to see a body being decomposed, right? It is, the dead body is beautified within 24 hours, right? So the person looks much prettier, much smarter after dying, right? They change even that to hide the decomposition of the body. So that is the reality today. So therefore, we are so unfortunate we don't have the situation to experience this the huge message that the Blessed One is passing to us. But having said that, it is not compulsory. It is not compulsory for us to go to a charnel ground to observe the body. And after all, it is a very high protein dose. It's a very specialized skill that only prescribed people should do, right? Because it is so effective. So everyone is not generally recommended to go and do this practice. If you do this practice, you should be within a suitable atmosphere. You should be strictly associating a teacher all the time if you do such a practice. And also, since we have this, since this is a contemplation, we have other direct experiencing methods such as postures, such as breath, such as sub postures. Those are things that we can directly experience. So when we have direct experience, experiencing or techniques that we can have direct experience, it is not compulsory for us to have these 9 contemplations as being mindful of the body. So I'm taking that section just for the sake of completeness, and not to mention that this is something that is imperative in the practice. Even if you don't have that, you can achieve everything that the Blessed One has mentioned by using what we already know. Right. Having said that, when we see this section where the Blessed One has given 14 ways to be mindful of the body, one can see Blessed One has taken from the time that we are conceived in mother's womb until the time that our bones are getting or turning into dust. He has covered the entire range of matter, right? Anapana means we start our anapana from the time we are conceived in mother's womb. That is where he starts mindfulness of breathing means that. From that point up to our, up to the point that we are even unable to see our bones, he has covered. Entire range of the body has been covered in these 14 sections. There is no place that no anyone can come and say, no, he has not covered this. Matter is completely covered in that section. So therefore, in these 14 sections, when you clearly mention or when you clearly read, there is one section that is given after each of these 14 sections. And that paragraph I have not been taking right through because I wanted to take it separately. I will read it now. The section that has been given or the paragraph that has been given after each and every technique is this. The Blessed One says, thus he dwells, observing body in body internally, or he dwells observing body in body externally, or he dwells observing body in body both internally and externally. Thus he dwells observing the phenomena of arising in the body. Thus he dwells observing the phenomena of passing away in the body. Thus he dwells observing the phenomena of arising and passing away in the body. Now his awareness is established. This is body. Thus he develops his awareness to such an extent that there is mere understanding along with the mere awareness. In this way, he dwells detached without clinging towards anything in the world of mind and matter. This is how a monk dwells, observing body in body. Right? So he's giving this section after all the 14 techniques. The reason is whenever you do any of these techniques, this is the result that you get. This is what you achieve. So if someone asks, what do you get by observing the body? This is what you get, right? And he says, if I take 3 sections of this, one, he says, you understand this internal external relationship, and the other, he says, you understand arising and passing away, and the other is explaining how this happens, and then what finally happens when this happens. This is what he is explaining. In fact, four components included in this result of observing the body, right? So if you take internally, he thus understands, dwells, observing body in body internally. This is very simple and straightforward, right? When I say simple and straightforward, say for example, when you do your walking practice, and if your attention is continuously kept on your walking process, and if you observe what you feel when you lift the leg, and what you feel when you move the leg, what you feel when you lower the leg, what you feel when you place the leg on the floor, right? And in that process, you have taken your complete attention to the body, complete attention to the lower part of the body. When your attention is in the lower part of the body, and when it keeps going, you know your attention is nowhere else. And sometimes when you do that, you may feel the coldness of your foot. You may feel heaviness of your foot. When you are lifting one foot, you may feel the heaviness of the foot that is being lifted, and the hardness of the foot that is holding the weight of the body. One is lifting leg is heavy, and the other one is very strong and hard in order to balance the weight of the body. So when you feel those things, what it simply says is you are in your body. Similarly, respiration. Respiration you can feel even better, right? So I'm not going to explain in detail all these things, how it happens. It will take a long time. So in this manner, you clearly demarcate the boundaries of your body. You are now I am with the right leg. Now I am with the left leg. When you are internally, when you clearly demarcate your body, lower part of the body or upper part of the body or the whole body, when you demarcate, when you understand, then when you understand internally that this is the body, it is very easy to understand external, right? Anything outside is external, right? So that happens before coming into the practice. What happens is we don't have any clear demarcation of our boundaries, right? Anything we get entangled. Anything, if you see something, you are very confused. If you hear something, you start jumping up and down. If you taste something and if it is good, you take the bag and rush to the supermarket and grab hold of all these things, because you don't know the demarcations, internal, external, and all these things you don't know. But now, with the practice, what happens is, while walking, if you see a bird, if you see a flower, you know now I am not with my walking process. I am outside, because you have clearly understood what you are observing now. You know what has to be internal. You are still walking. You are walking. Your mindfulness is with the leg, but attention is outside. So because you know internal boundaries well, you don't get entangled. So that is a skill that you are developing. So you still may be walking, but your attention will be outside, but you clearly understand the truth. So this is one way he dwells internally in the body, and he dwells externally to the body as well, right? And in some books, this internal-external relationship is explained in this manner. If you are dwelling internally, you feel whatever that you can experience within the body, inside the body, such as there will have certain vibrations, there will have certain sensations that are going on, and understanding those things that are happening internally are internal, and understanding that are happening on the surface, on the body, are external. That is another way of explaining, right? So we have now two ways of understanding. And in some other books, they explain this as A deduced knowledge. Deduced knowledge in the sense, if you know that this is happening and this is how it is happening in my body, then you can use that knowledge to understand that it is the same thing that in Mr. X's body as well, Mrs. Y's body as well, my son's body as well, my daughter's body as well, my wife's body, my husband's body, my sibling's body. Anybody's body will be like this. Even the animals, it will be like this. That is not a direct knowledge, but that is a deduced knowledge based on what you experience. So, in that manner, since you have unentangled your mind and clearly demarcated your body, and you are more calmer, right? So, whether your attention is internal, whether your attention is external, you can still keep on moving with your body, walking, or keep observing your walking, or keep observing your respiration. At times it goes out, doesn't matter. You don't get confused, right? So if it is internal, you understand internal. If it is external, you understand that it is external. Beauty is, sometimes it comes to a stage, it goes external, doesn't matter, you observe, and comes internal, doesn't matter, you observe. So wherever it goes, now you have a clear mind that to understand, I'm breathing in, attention is somewhere else. Breathing is happening by while observing your breath, your attention is going out. One day somebody told me, when she was observing his respiration, she is able to observe the respiration as well, and she hears children watching a movie in the TV as well. She also has a pain. She also having thoughts. She is able to see all these things. But there is no confusion. She understands internal, she understands external. This is why he's living or observing the body as body internally as well as externally. Because now that entanglement has been cleared out without doing any reaction, without taking any judgment, keeping the decisions pending. What you simply do is simple observation. Because of that non-reactional mentality, you gain a gap, you gain a space to see what is internal, to see what is external, right? So this is why this is something that you gain by observing body in body. And that is why the Blessed One has included that in all the 14 techniques the Blessed One has given. And that is just one thing, one result that you will gain. And the other result that you will gain is the arising and passing away phenomena. This is a phenomena. And even the previous one that we mentioned is a phenomena. And arising and passing away, when you take, for example, the respiration, initially you will bring your attention willfully, intentionally to the in-breath and to the out-breath. And when you intentionally, willfully do that, after some time, you let it happen on an autopilot mode, which means you let the breath takes place and you take a back seat and you keep observing. When you keep observing, when your attention changes to observation mode, then you start seeing what happens to this breath. You initially see that your breath is long, maybe long, I'm not saying compulsory. And then over a period of time, when you keep on observing, it becomes shallow, it becomes subtler. The reason is you are getting more and more detached from the sensual world. You are getting closer and closer to your in-breath. When you get closer and closer to the in-breath, what happens is you start conserving energy, because you need a lot of energy to in the sensual world, or to entertain sensual desires that are arising. You don't entertain sensual desires that desires that are arising. Instead, your attention is now completely with the breath. And when the attention is the breath, you start seeing this changing phenomena, initially long, and then it becomes subtle, right? Although it is subtler, you keep on observing it. When you keep on observing it, your mind with the breath gradually goes into the body. How it goes into the body is, subtler the breath, stronger gets your concentration, stronger gets your attention, stronger gets your awareness. So your attention more and more is coming closer to the body. So without your knowledge, with the subtle breath, which is happening at the nostril, or if you have observed, if you have been observing your chest, or if you are observing your tummy, your attention gets more and more closer to the body, and attention stays in the body, but hardly you observe in breath. So when that happens, your body becomes open to the mind. That is why in the respiration section chapter, the Blessed One says, observing the whole body, he breathes in, observing the whole body, he breathes out, observing the whole body. Because after that evolution of the long breath to subtle breath, you get exposed to the whole body. Because no breath now, or hardly any breath, but your attention is heightened. So you start feeling the whole body, your attention is there in the whole body, right? So, and when you keep on doing that, it even becomes subtler. You don't feel the breath at all. You feel that you are not breathing, but you see a heightened alertness with the body. So that is where the Blessed One says, the calming the bodily volitions. In that last paragraph, the Blessed One says, you calm the bodily volitions, but still attention is there. There is something happening to observe, that there is in-breath and out-breath is happening. So at this stage, your attention is in the whole body. When the attention is in the whole body, when the bodily volitions are calmed down, then you start feeling what is happening in the body. What is happening in the body is, when the breath goes in, it is activating each and every molecule in the body. It is activating each and every blood cell in the body, right? So therefore, you start feeling the whole body. How, when you feel the whole body, the thing that you can see is what has been happening from the day one we conceived in mother's womb. What has been happening from day one in the mother's womb? It has kept on changing. It has kept on changing. Every fraction of a second, our body keeps changing. So this is why we are conceived in mother's womb just like a jelly bean. And then we grow into this full form human beings, is because it is continuously changing. That continuously changing phenomena you start observing now within your body. And when you feel that, some people see that as turned on TV without any pictures, not the present ones that you have. When you had analog TVs, you turn it on and there are no pictures, you will see a lot of bubbles popping up and disappearing, popping up and disappearing. And you may feel the same thing within your body. Or you may feel that it has a boiling water pot, right? It's coming up and going down, coming up and going down. Or you may feel it as a pond where the rain, when it is raining, the raindrops are falling on the water and it pops up and bursting. And or some people have told me that they feel the body like a lotto machine. In the lotto machine, all these what do you call, balls, because they keep going up and down, keep going up and down. You have that sort of a sensation when the mind is in the body and the bodily volitions are calmed down. You start feeling these things, and that is what the Blessed One says, arising and passing away. When this arising and passing away is being observed, not is being happening, it has been happening 24/7, 365 days ever since we were conceived, but we have never seen that. But now the Blessed One has given us a way to see that, given us a way to observe that and experience that. So when someone experiences it, Blessed One says, some people will get scared because they have been thinking this as something which is very solid and you can keep it forever in the same manner, and therefore they are doing all sorts of juggleries to maintain the body as it is. But when the mind goes to the body, this is happening, so they get scared. When you get scared, or when you start experiencing something like that, and if you have some sort of a suspicious mentality, even otherwise, discussion is imperative, because this is a direct knowledge that you have now, and whatever mentality you have, you'll have to spit it out, right? So you'll have to get involved in the discussion. And some people are not scared. For some people, this is very soothing. This is more and more calming. They get attached to that. So even in that case, this is very hard for some people. They don't tell that because they just keep enjoying it. But you will have to, even in that stage, you will have to speak about it so that your noble friend will be able to understand that. So for some people, they very clearly observe the arising, but they will not open up their attention to the passing away. They will see this arising part, but they are not very keen in looking at the passing away part. I was in that category. When I was observing, I observed the breathe in, breathe out. I don't observe much, right? So because of that, you always observe arising, but the passing away attention will not go there. But since you continuously practice, and at one or the other point, naturally your mind will start observing the passing away, because it's a natural phenomena of arising. Anything that arises passes away, and you start seeing that. So when you start seeing that, and if you are not afraid, and if you are not attached to it, and if you keep any decision pending, and if you become a pure observer, and if you become the observed as well, and if the observer and the observed consolidate together without any attachment, that is when you will be able to see arising and passing away as well. Both are happening at the same time. So by this, Blessed One simply introduces to our mind the impermanence, not just impermanence, experiencing of impermanence. Blessed One introduces to our mind, to our attitude, that there is no self. These are just when everything is together. You have a nose, you have a mouth, you have this, you have that, you have a man, you have a name, and all that. But when your mind is taken to this stage, there is no self, there is no part in the body. There is no hand in the body. There is no head in the body. Everything arising and passing away only. And if you are hooked onto this, if you are attached to this, if you try to grab hold of it, then only suffering will start. He's not saying that, but he's gradually, from this practice, showing us that this is what is there. So, by seeing that, by observing that, by accepting that, we gradually tend to change our attitude. We have seen our bodies changing. We have seen we have no control on the internal and external. So thereafter we don't fight as much. We are fighting still, but not as much. Even if we fight, we know that it is wrong. We know that it is due to our habit and not the reality. I understand within me that there is nothing to fight. So your way of living, the attitude changes. When your attitude changes, you become calmer. When you become calmer, you are not restless. You don't have any stress. You don't have any depression, right? Because you have seen the reality for yourself within you. And that is the result that the Blessed One is introducing or giving us through observing body in body. Is saying that 14 times in all the 14 techniques. And he also says how it happens. The word that has been used here is mere awareness and mere mindfulness. And Pali term is much more convincing. Pali term says Jnana Mattaya Patisati Mattaya. Jnana Mattaya means this is a glimpse of knowledge, just matra. Jnana Mattaya means a glimpse of knowledge. Knowledge matryak. How it happens? Glimpse of mindfulness. Glimpse of pure 100% mindfulness. Not very full-fledged, long-lasting one. A glimpse of mindfulness. But that's a high-quality mindfulness. Because of that high-quality establishment of sati matta, patisati matta, establishment of mindfulness, you have this glimpse of knowledge. And when you keep on doing that, such glimpses grow and grow and grow, and you will be able to gradually, that glimpse turn into a bulk or knowledge of understanding. And when that happens, he says, you will be able to detach from the world which is full of all rubbish. That is why when you are able to separate internal and external, you don't mess up so much with the external things. You have your boundaries. You know everything is passing away. Even you get involved, you quickly retrieve from your mistake. So in this manner, you will live much more happily, without any restlessness, without any stress, without any depression, without any mental disorder. Your all mental disorders will gradually vanish, right? But people will say, when you become calmer and calmer, and when you are not going into parties, when you are not going into dances, then people will say, you have a mental disorder. Yes, in their own eyes, we have a mental disorder because Blessed One says, Sabbe Putakyana Ummattaka. And fool, or not fools, those who have mental disorder sees those who don't have a mental disorder as having mental disorder. So it's the only yardstick other people have to measure up. But those who practice actually know what is wrong. So continuous acceptance and observation of the direct knowledge, which is internal, external, and internal and external, arising and passing away, and arising and passing away, paves the way to go beyond mind and matter phenomena and experience the blissful wisdom stages that the Blessed One has taught the universe. So may this help for all of you to achieve that wonderful path and achieve the wonderful stages. So with that, I will conclude today's talk, and next time we will be getting onto a very important area, which is Vedananupassana, or being mindful on the feelings or the sensations. And now I can open up for any questions that you may have. You saying?
There are questions I'll ask.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
No, it was just something that I was thinking of. He'd always say, like, when he's doing sitting, he's like, one of these things that he liked saying was strengthening mindfulness. He'd always like to repeat that. But for me, I never really understood what he was talking about, because I couldn't, like, at will, like, increase mindfulness. It's sort of like, I know about mindfulness and I can't, like, increase its, like, volume or quantity or such. What did he actually mean?
The question is, when Bhante Rakkhita is doing his what do you call, retreats, and when he's guiding us, he all the time uses these. There are some famous phrases he's using. Are you breathing in or out? He's using that all the time. And the other thing is what he said now: strengthen your mindfulness. Strengthen your mindfulness, which means when we keep on practicing, there is a possibility that we slip away. And we know mindfulness means being aware of the present moment. But when we slip away from the main object, doesn't matter. If you slip away for thoughts, doesn't matter. So long as you are 100% aware that you are going with the thoughts. But we don't know, but we just slip away. Just go with the thought. So in that case, our mindfulness is slipping as well. It's not a mistake. That is something that is happening. So with that is constant reminders. What he says is be aware what is happening. So that is what I understand, strengthening mindfulness. He may be asking us to, because he's more towards being mindful on the object, he may be trying to push us on to observe the object as close as possible. But since we know mindfulness is having a bit broader meaning, we can take that as being aware of whatever in that particular moment, instead of just letting it to hide, go under the carpet.
Yeah, that's just, I think like a small comment on that. So yeah, that's what I thought, that maybe he's like more like concentration focused, that he like wanted you to observe the object and the object and not necessarily other objects.
Yeah.
Will always keep directing to the primary object that will come.
Yeah, that is what he is possibly trying to do. But not compulsory, because we are going on the basis that awareness is mindfulness. So we can be mindful whatever that is happening in that particular moment. Most welcome. Right. So if there are no other questions or comments, um, we can conclude the session by transferring merits.